this video is being released in 2025, meaning at this time, about 5 years ago, Greta Thunberg got pretty well known for this dramatic presentation with these 3 sections I'd like to present to you that happened in a matter of seconds. People are suffering, people are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. You come to us young people for hope. How dare you? I'll go through those in sequence and dissolve whatever blocks of infected fat are within them, validating what is pretty valuable. People are suffering! People are dying! Okay. Let's look at things more completely now, and correctly. First of all, most people are not suffocating due to changes in the ecosystem, due to climate change thus far. And since 2020, that hasn't been happening much. I think more people died due to a number of other things. And I can name 3 very quickly. One is the war between Russia and Ukraine. Bullets, mines, drones, and death. Explosions. Number 2 is the Israel-Hamas war, where people in Gaza have died in the 10,000s by now. And people have been starving. They've been suffering and dying, and Greta Thunberg did take her boat to get met by the IDF interception. There is some acknowledgement for that. The third one, I hope you think of this as obvious as I do. Cobalt-91. No, COVID-19. And let me tell you, over 1 million people in America suffered and died because of COVID-19. And if we put that much care into that apiece, the death count would have been less than 500,000. But people didn't care that much, and a lot of Americans weren't wearing their masks. Some were beating up Asians, and what happened was an embarrassment compared to some Asian countries that I can actually, trust for reporting some accuracy in their numbers, like Japan and India. They creamed the United States so much, they made up for a lot of bombing deaths that happened in World War II in India. Over 1 billion of a population and less deaths than the Americans. I'm thinking if we're gonna care about people suffering and dying, we should care where the suffering and dying is happening the most. Climate's kind of down compared to COVID-19 and the wars. So, entire ecosystems are collapsing is up next. That's where Greta Thunberg kind of has a point. Ice caps have been melting, they've been shrinking. And climate change is going on. It's not an immediate emergency. And quite honestly, some of that may not have that much of an effect on humanity. Some will. So this is where she gets partial credit. The last part is about as embarrassing as the first. You come to us young people for hope. How dare you? Okay, here's how they dare. It's coming up in my later explanation. In the past, what Greta Thunberg has whined about is that older generations have tasked younger generations, such as millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, with cleaning up the air that they had polluted. Now, to some extent, her resentment is understandable because the baby boomers were driving the bigger cars, in some cases, muscle cars. And what also makes sense is that it is up to the younger generations to clean up the air, to prevent too much more fumes, because the older ones don't have a lot of time left. And the baby boomers had to deal with nuclear war worries that we really don't have as much of right now. They never grew up with the internet and smartphones. Plus, that generation dealt with a considerable oil shock during the 1970s. But yes, sometimes they were really living it up at the drive-in. Plus, some of these baby boomer and Gen X adults have already been working on solutions. I have personally met one old woman who started a climate-conscious business that was intended on sustainable farming. I personally volunteered alongside some of her staff, and a company called Climeworks has opened a plant that sucks CO2 right out of the air. Do you remember that 1970s oil shock I mentioned? Well, Jimmy Carter was one US president who during that oil shock set a personal example at the White House and said he turned the thermostat down. Conservation was cared about back then, and now Los Angeles actually has a problem. It's called too much solar energy sometimes. What I'm saying is, if you think the answer is to hate older generations, you have another thing coming, and that's this. And I am going to be that guy right now. Yep, the picture says it. We depend on the petroleum industry. Some of you already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we totally stopped using oil right now, the global economy would shrink down to less than a third of its current size. Do you respect, or are you even proud of the soldiers defending your country and all their self-sacrifice? Well, ask yourself this question. What do their trucks need? What do their tanks need? What do their fighter jets need? Bombers, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles, helicopters. See, you think you have so much empathy when you say don't use gas at all, but let's keep things realistic. You want to live. And that means cargo planes need fuel, and fuel needs oil. But we shouldn't use too much. So the solution is a reasonable reduction and not an instant oil swear-off. That'd be too radical. Instantly displacing the whole petroleum industry would lead to a labor issue too. It would be an unemployment issue. There's an amount you can do in your personal life to help out. If you save 1 gallon in a month, it might seem like nothing at first. But if you do this over 5 years, think of the 60 gallons that would be. 60 gallons of gas could take the average hybrid car down a serious over half a length of I-5 or I-95, those being main interstates on the west and east coast of the US. So should we do as people? Well, we should probably respect the petroleum industry where respect is due. We should walk the short distances, which means that if it's half a mile to get to a friend's house, if it's half a mile for a quick run to the store for a small number of items, hoof it. Don't drive. Don't drive 50 feet just to get to the frickin' mailbox. And sometimes for this, confidence is key. Believe you have the strength to do some things without an automobile. This is not WALL-E. I am a man, and I believe I have strength. I'm kidding, this is a toothbrush. And yeah, for long distances or even short distances with fragile equipment or perishable food, take your car. Protect what's fragile, yeah. And if you're whining to the government and corporations, your word is worth a lot more, and it's something I can take more seriously if you actually do your share first. And what I'm also saying is don't piss away gas like it's free, innocent, and has no consequences, because buddy, that would be wrong to believe. Use the gas you need to use. If you've been working hard, if you've really earned a lot of credit, don't feel guilty about one plane trip or one road trip. It could be you need it, you've earned it, things like that. Sustainability is sustainable, not idealistic.